Hello again. It's me, Mrs. Morrison, your reading instructor. Don't you love the way I just pop up at opportune moments throughout the course? I thought I'd like to give you a little more information about the Reading 112 unit tests. As you know, the book Mindscapes is divided into 4 units. At the end of Unit 1, there's a test over chapters 1 and 2. At the end of Unit 2, 3 and 4, and at the end of Unit 3, 5 and 6. It'll be a little different for Unit 4, but more about that later. Here's what you should know about the unit tests. They cover 2 chapters, but they do not directly test you on the content of the chapters. Instead, they test you over readings called applications that appear at the ends of the chapters. So for the Unit 1 test, you'll be tested over the applications at the end of Chapter 1, the 3 R's of remembering, and increase your memory power. Also, the applications at the end of Chapter 2, is there a link between creativity and addiction, and drugs in the brain. If you have a hard or a paper copy of the text, you can locate these applications easily because the pages have gray borders. In addition, each unit test is going to have some additional readings the text will be typed into the test itself. The questions over the applications and additional readings often cover what was in the 2 chapters by asking you to apply the information. Let me explain that a little bit more. So, for example, in Chapter 1, there's some information about figuring out vocabulary from context clues. Now, the test won't ask you what are the different types of context clues, but they might ask you how to define a word in one of the applications. So you would be actually using the context clues. And in Chapter 2, you learned about details and patterns of organization. So the unit test wouldn't actually ask you what the patterns of organization are. Instead, they would ask you what pattern of organization is represented in a particular application or in a particular paragraph within an application. And they might ask you lots of specific detail questions about the applications. And later on, as you move through Mindscapes, there will be information about main ideas and making inferences. And then on the unit tests, you'll be asked to figure out the main ideas of the application or make inferences about the applications. Let's talk a little bit about the mechanics. All the unit tests are in D2L. They're like D2L quizzes, so you read something and then you choose the radio button to mark your multiple choice answer. Each unit test is worth 60 points, and in this class that's a relatively large amount if you consider that the study guides are worth 20 points each. Each unit test has around 30 questions. The questions are pulled from a test bank, so different students get different questions. The questions in the test bank are written and created by the publisher, not by me, your instructor. So the publisher who created Cengage Learning, who created the Mindscapes textbook, has found these additional readings, and they've written these questions about the additional readings, the applications, and there's a whole huge test bank of like 120 different questions, and they just randomly pull out around 30 for each test. You never know which 30 you're going to get. And if you have a friend in the class, you may get a different 30 questions than they get. Over this test, you will have 2 attempts. That means you take it once and you get your grade. And if your grade is good, then you get to party on. But if you're not happy with your grade, you will have a chance to go back and take the test again. The gradebook in D2L will automatically record your highest score. The recommended time limit in D2L is 60 minutes, but the test will keep going. It won't time out. So if you need more time, you can take more time. As your instructor, how would I recommend that you prepare for the unit test? Well, I recommend that you over-prepare the applications in advance so that your brain will be fresh when you read the additional readings. I find that students who wait to read the applications until right before the test feel kind of overloaded, trying to process all the information in all 4 applications and in these extra readings that are in the test. So if you're really familiar with the applications in advance, before you take the test, maybe the day or the week before, then it'll be easier to not feel overloaded when you take the unit test. How do you over-prepare the applications? Well, for each of them, preview, and then use a holistic strategy like KWL or SQ3R to read them. Mark stated main ideas in topic sentences. I suggest if you have a paper text, you just use a pencil and just mark right on your book, or even a highlighter. If you have an electronic text, you can use an annotation program. There's some good ones in Google Docs. I'd also recommend that you mark supporting details and that you paraphrase or put in your own words the most important information in the text and rewrite it in the margins of the book or, on a separate document. I would suggest that ahead of time you identify the topic of the reading and look for any patterns of organization that might be present. After each application, there are comprehension checks, which are questions about the application. I recommend you go ahead and fill them out. You don't have to turn them in. They won't be graded, but they'll help you see if you have thoroughly understood what you read. And if there's any of those questions that you don't know the answer to, go back and hunt it out. Now, you can't expect these exact questions, the ones that you find in the comprehension checks, to be on the test. But it's just a really good way to prepare and make sure you understood everything in the applications. And it's an open book test. So you can look right at the applications, all your annotations, all your notes, and the comprehension checks when you're taking the test. And here are, if you have a paper book as opposed to an ebook, here are the titles, again, of the readings and the page numbers that the Unit 1 test will cover. So, good luck on the test. I anticipate you guys are going to do really well, and I look forward to talking to you again a little bit later on in the semester. Good luck on the test.